Welcome back to the Tech Talks Daily Podcast. I'm your host, Neil C. Hughes, and today I have an intriguing discussion lined up for you all because we're going to be delving into the world of artificial intelligence and its profound impact on the creative industry. My guest today is Creative Director Roshmond Patten, and he's from the innovative creative agency called Glow, and he's going to bring a unique perspective to the table. Because Sum is a specialist in AI, and he's here to shed light on why creatives need to be active participants in discussions surrounding AI, especially in a world where AI's influence is steadily growing. Because many in the creative fields are concerned about the potential ramifications for their roles. So Sum is here to help us navigate the challenges and explore how leadership can ensure that creatives remain an integral part of this evolving landscape. But enough from me. Buckle up and hold on tight as I beam your ears all the way stateside, where today's guest is waiting to join us. So a massive warm welcome to the show. So can you tell everyone listening a little about who you are?
Yes, indeed. And Neil, thank you so much for having me. Looking forward to this conversation already. My name is Sum. I am a Los Angeles-based artist, creative director, and community advocate. Also pretty established or accomplished hip hop musician, although not a lot of people know me or my name. I have quite a bit of work out there and quite a few number of years behind me in terms of what I've accomplished there. And so I currently work for Glow Digital Marketing Agency, which is headquartered in New York City, and we have offices everywhere. And I am based in LA as part of the LA team.
Now, I've got to ask, now you've mentioned the hip-hop background. Is that under your own name or do an artist's name? Where would I find you on Spotify? I need to check this out.
Yeah, definitely. Sum, S-U-M. All my work has been under that umbrella for 20 years now, 20 plus.
Fantastic. Well, I'll be checking that work out. But today, one of the reasons I wanted to get you on the podcast was to talk about creativity and AI integration.
Yes.
It is such a huge topic right now. So can you share your insights on how you're seeing AI influencing the creative industries and what this means for the future of creativity? Does it replace human creativity or enhance it, for example?
AI, artistry, expression, they're all converging in interesting ways right now. I'm glad everybody's calming down a little bit. The top of the year was crazy with it, and there's a lot of Chicken Little going on, and the sky is falling. And so everyone's kind of, calming down and kind of putting things in perspective. And I mean, even myself, like, I'm not clowning humanity at large. Like, this is a big deal. Even myself, I had my own reactions to the zeitgeist, but based on my personal experience with AI. So I'll paint that picture a little bit, which will kind of color the answer that I'll give you, the direct answer to your question. My first hands-on experience with any kind of like algorithmic technology and AI was probably, coming up on 10 years now. Some of my first interactions with it were helping to train some of the music discovery algorithms that basically drive all of, music and now entertainment commerce, because the discovery algorithms are what's pointing you to what you like, and the algorithm knows what you like. And so I had some early experience kind of training some of those discovery algorithms for Apple Music, Amazon Music, and some more independent kind of startups who were early competitors to like Spotify, but didn't break through, although they were wonderful services. And so that was my introduction to learning how the machine thinks. And then I dibbled and dabbled in different ways, but, over the years, but some kind of key milestones were that I also got involved in, I guess around between 2016 and 2020, I got heavily involved in community work and activism and advocacy, kind of pushing back against police brutality and the expansion of the police surveillance state, and pushing back against predictive policing, which is heavily powered by what we call a generative AI. And most predictive policing is, AI if not driven, at least informed. In the more manual iterations of predictive policing, still even the humans are making their decisions based on what the AI is telling them is the best way to move forward. And learning early on in that exercise that the AI was very was definitely fallible, and but municipalities and law enforcement would have us believe that the AI is infallible and data will justify just about anything. If the data says, then we should just follow the data, And so I was fortunate enough to get involved in some early pushback against the proliferation of that technology. And then kind of more back in my native professional area of marketing and digital marketing and social media campaigns, working with Atlanta FX while I was with Cashmere Agency. I was the lead voice on all the social handles for Donald Glover's show Atlanta. And so that was 4 seasons long. And in that last season, I pitched an AI stunt, for an AI to take over the social handles. And that was a lot of fun. And I got to actually work with the machine learning developers to help actually train the machine that took over the Atlanta socials. And so then I got another peel back kind of behind the curtain of how this works. And so I had all this kind of unique entry points into AI before it started bubbling up and becoming part of the mainstream popular conversation, which I guess is about a year ago now. So some of that POV was about being very cautious and understanding the harms of AI. Some of it was about celebrating and understanding the greatness and the potential of AI to upend and change what we can do. And some of it was about, or a lot of it was about making sure that we take time to understand that the technologists and the developers who are steering the ship their feet aren't always on the ground with us. They aren't always, in touch with the community and with the people who will be most affected by the technology. And so we have to early on start advocating for ourselves. That informed my POV. So now I'll get to the direct answer for your question. Right now, I think that not just artists and creatives in general, but humanity in general is looking at the nitty gritty of what we're doing here on the planet and having to face down what are the things that maybe should be automated that we think are like these kind of sacred human processes. And art is at the crux of answering that question. Art and creativity are at the crux of answering what is art? What is creation? What is creativity? What does it take to make a thing? Where do we draw the line between something being duplicated, replicated, and spit out versus inspiration, and these kind of existential questions are what we're facing right now. That's what's going to affect. I think that's probably the biggest. It has the biggest import over how AI is going to affect the arts and humanities and creativity. Is us getting an understanding of what it actually is to create, and that to me is what's going to upend everything. Not just the arts, but everything else, that every other area that AI will touch.
And it's such a powerful story that you shared there and the journey that you've been on. And yes, we're talking about creativity and things now. And I have written about predictive policing on a number of occasions now. And for people listening, maybe unfamiliar in movie terms, it's almost combining Moneyball with Minority Report.
Man, yes.
It's scary, is it? Pre-crime divisions that solve crimes before they happen. And it's quite scary, isn't it?
Terrifying. And it has cost people lives, and it has destroyed communities, and it's destroyed people's lives. It's incarcerated people wrongly in ways that we can't even imagine. So yes, it's very scary. I'm glad that the awareness around it has expanded so that people can speak up more against it where need be.
100%. And as for AI in general in the creative industry, it has it all the headlines this year. As you said, things were crazy for a little while. But right now, as we're starting to appreciate the technology, how it can be leveraged to enhance creativity, can you tell me a bit more why you see it as crucial for creatives to have a seat at the table in those discussions about AI and how their involvement can help maybe shape the development of this technology too?
Yes, again, I mean, it's the difference between a tool that's being created for artists by artists and a tool that's being created for artists by a non-artist. That's kind of a simplified way to look at it, but I'm of the mind that any technology that's going to be deployed into any community, especially to exploit that community, and by exploit, I mean like, hey, here's a tool y'all can use to make more things, which we know are going to churn commerce. But here's the tool. Please use it. Please explore it, and we'll sit back and wait and see how you're going to help us make money with it. So any tool that's going to be deployed into a community, I feel like representatives from that community need to have some weigh in and some, or at least at the very least, at the baseline, some education at like the leaders in that community, the respected and known leaders in that community should have some education and empowerment and then some weigh-in after they've been educated and empowered. This is a problem in general with tech development and deployments. It's not just AI. It's a number of things we could point to. And so this is a philosophy that I'm bringing from, other areas of concern for me. And so AI is just another version of, you need to have some artists in the room. Like if you're talking about, deploying a thing that can, that's great. Let's talk about, I guess, Stable Diffusion and, kind of Mid-Journey and these generative visual AIs. If you're, developing a tool that is being trained on, artists' work globally, and there's not one visual, kind of like working established visual artist in the room to kind of, think through this, like, hey guys, maybe there's a different way to roll this out, or maybe there's a way we can communicate with the artist community so that it doesn't seem so confrontational or like exploitative or whatever. It's just clear to me that there weren't any artists in the room. And that's why it's important, not just so that the artists can have input or that the affected community can have input, but also so that we can bridge the gaps, bridge communities. There's no reason why the developer and the AI developer community shouldn't be in cahoots with the artist community. There shouldn't be two camps that are splintered. What I'm seeing now is like, there's like this developer camp and, the technologists and the Silicon Valleys and all of them are doing their thing. And then there's like, now there's AI savvy artist community who is like pushing back against that. Like, yeah, okay, we see what y'all are doing. Y'all are trying to like replace us or whatever the thing is. So we're going to start, bringing in some rogue AI developers and kind of forming this artist AI camp, which is fine, that there's resistance against what could be a harmful and exploitative movement. But to me, it just feels like, why not at the onset and the genesis, like, let's just get together and everyone just be in the room together so we can problem solve together, because that's, in my mind, that's what humanity's work is to get together and solve problems.
100%. And I suppose the elephant in the room is many creatives fear that AI might render their roles obsolete. So how do you address these concerns, and what do you think can be done to ensure that more harmonious integration of AI in creative roles?
Well, my take on that is not very popular. It hasn't, I think that whatever can be automated probably should, so that we can free up to do the things that I think are closer to what our purpose here is. So I think that I'm speaking from a very privileged place and position, in that I have the privilege of being a senior creative with lots of years of experience and also lots of skill sets. I'm not threatened by AI because of how I position myself. And I also know AI. So I know it enough to consider myself fluent and a specialist and an ethicist, and I can I can navigate this space comfortably. So I have the privilege of not being threatened by AI. So I say that with what I'm about to say, I'm saying with that caveat. I think that any process, any quote unquote creative process in our industries that was created solely for the purpose of churning commerce, maybe it should be automated. Maybe we need to pass that off. Maybe we need to pass that off so that we can, those of us who want to create for art's sake, to beautify the planet and beautify life, we can focus on doing that. It's too much of our reality and our consciousness is dependent on our jobs, our roles, and our roles as cogs in the wheel. And I think this moment is about moving past that. And unfortunately, that means certain systems and ideologies are probably going to have to be replaced, or they're going to have to crumble in certain ways. So, it's complicated. I feel, I have complicated feelings about this, like I feel like, okay, this is the moment where we can actually possibly, if we do this right, we can free up the human bandwidth, to humanity's bandwidth to to fix the real stuff that we need to fix. We need to address war. We need to address poverty. We need to address our wellness. We need to address our happiness. We need to address our togetherness. We need to address the planet. We need to love on the planet. Our minds and our bodies and our energies have been taken away from those things because we have prioritized globally, commerce and capitalism, which has some, there's some merits there. Cool. But it's like maybe 10% merits and 90% other shit and side effects, excuse my language. And so we have a moment now where maybe we can start freeing up the bandwidth to address those things and reshape and restructure how we survive and how we live and how we thrive. These things have been built to prop up industry. And so on one hand, I'm feeling that way. And on the other hand, I feel particularly for my mid-level to junior and entry-level creatives, saddened that, those who had just established themselves, not the ones who were in school who were about to come out, because they're coming out with the tools, but the ones who had just got started in the careers in the last 5 years or so, and they're moving along, and then all of a sudden it's there might be a robot who can do exactly what you do faster at scale and maybe even better in some cases pretty soon. Even though we know we know the LLMs are not really that sophisticated right now, pretty soon, they'll be able to start taking over jobs. So I feel bad for them that they were kind of sold this dream that you can, this is the way for you. But really, those roles were always designed to be automated. That's the unpopular take that I have. Those roles were always designed to be automated. And with the industry was just waiting for the moment where they could, and now it's here. And a lot of us were about to pay for that. And so I have mixed feelings about it.
Yeah, me too. I think in some ways there's an argument that we're actually lowering the barrier level of creativity, because we all know so many creative people out there, but some people have convinced themselves only a certain kind of person is creative. Maybe someone that's got the technical skills, and maybe someone that's got the luxury of being able to afford that Adobe Creative Suite and be able to invest all the time in the learning that Creative Suite, where is in some ways technology has enabled anybody to unleash their creativity.
Yeah, well, there's a lot of debate about creativity and what it means. And even if you look back on the etymology of the word, creativity itself is sort of a modern, it's a modern term that was basically, created for industry, well, actually, initially it was created to make distinct the ruling class and the elite so that, we could kind of designate someone as a creative, like they're getting like this information from some otherworldly intelligence, that not everyone has access to. So they might be a creative, you know what I mean? And then that was moved onwards to, oh, you know what, we could exploit this term a bit further and apply it to people who have some artistic inclinations, but maybe, they haven't figured out how to commit. We can make jobs for them that will help us like make this marketing collateral, and they can write stuff for us, and they can, help us paint our vision for us. You know what I'm saying? So then so we'll create a space for those aspiring artists, and we'll call them creatives. I don't know how many decades ago that was, but that's the genesis of that word. Now, like humanity does, we take a thing and we alchemize it and make it like our own thing. We turn it so now creative is a real thing. It's like some kind of, hybrid, artist, professional, Renaissance person, who has their hands in like this and that, and they can do all kind of different things. Like we have this understanding of what a creative is, but really, if you sit down and talk to your average person about, if you ask them to define what is a creative versus what is an artist, they might not be able to tell you because they don't know. So it's a sort of like mystified language, that we use to communicate a bunch of different ideas at once. So that said, yes, the technology and the industries have opened up doors for people to deem themselves quote unquote artists or creatives. And, for better or for worse, that's had its effects. But I'm more inclined to celebrate the positive aspect of accessibility that the technology affords, because particularly AI. And thank you for bringing that up, because that's a huge point for me. And I totally forgot to mention it, is that the accessibility that AI will give people in the far reaches, the potential for it to reach them and for them to use it to create solutions or create art, to me is a huge benefit for AI. And to me, it speaks to sort of like the hierarchical nature of our thinking, that we get scared when more people get access to a technology. People get scared when more people get access to the things that they have. Like I spent the years training in Adobe Suite. I spent the money like going to school to, learn how to be a copywriter. Like that, you can't just give that away to someone in Zimbabwe in a village who never, all they have, they've gone to YouTube University. Now we're about to give them an AI that can make them competitive with me. That right there is part of what needs to be dismantled. It's the human condition that we've created has made us compete against each other in very destructive, toxic ways. And in order for us to move to the next thing, I think that thinking and those whatever is the source of those feelings and the structures around it, like, need to be addressed, and so that we can move forward together more seamlessly. Hopefully that makes sense. Am I rambling?
Yeah. No, it really does. It's such a great point and an important point to raise too. And before you came on the podcast today, I was reading that you also mentioned the need for safe spaces where creatives can discuss AI challenges. I'm curious, just for anyone listening, how do you envision those spaces? What do they look like? And how would they function?
Man, had you asked me this 3 days ago, I would have been like, man, I don't know. I honestly don't know. But it's funny how life is happening right now. So there are a number of convergences happening in my life that are giving me the insight to be able to answer that question. And I'll speak to two of them. One is, I have for many years now been in a number of engagements and fellowships, residences with Virginia Tech University, where I've been an entrepreneur in residence. I've been an artist in residence. And I was part of a program called the I4. I'm a fellow for the Institute of Creativity, Arts, and Technology over there. And so for years, I've had a number of different engagements with them. And in the last year, basically, we just got awarded this grant where I'll be leading a program to help students. It's kind of a prototype pilot program where I'll be mentoring students on how to use AI to create some sort of artistic artifact. And so that's one space. I'm gonna come back to that. And then I want to do my part to help push for a ceasefire in Gaza. And not just the ceasefire in Gaza. There are other fights beyond that, but to me, this is so pressing. And you know, to whomever is listening, like, you know, this is, for me, this is a matter of humanity. It's not about identity. It's not about Palestinian versus Israeli or Muslim versus Jew or whatever. To me, this is a humanitarian issue. Obviously, I have my very deep, strong personal feelings and stance on the thing, but regardless of what that is, generally speaking, this is like a human issue for me. So I want to press for a ceasefire and do what I can. So I've decided to kind of like cook up this hackathon thing where artists and AI specialists can come together and maybe cook up solutions that we can not only use to help pressure a ceasefire, but we can maybe use to help in some other global fights as well. So I got the ideas, and like I got the grant and I got the ideas, and we, you know, now we're getting to the nitty gritty of like, all right, so what are we gonna do? And I'm like, how do we? I don't know. And so I've literally spent the last 48 hours thinking like, oh, okay, this is becoming these are becoming spaces where artists can come together with AI specialists and come up with new ideas. So this is the safe space. Like, these are the safe spaces. They look like online communities where people come in with their expertise and no egos and kind of talk it out. Like, what is demystify some of the language. Like, I don't understand what an LLM is. Like, what is a neural network? Like, you know, and then the developers or the tech specialists can also ask their questions, you know, about artistic and creative process. And then I think that's when we're going to, you know, and actually another convergence I didn't speak about is that also at Glow, I am leading up for at least the creative part of building our AI team and department. So I'm also real time learning what a safe space looks and feels like for those who are interested in AI but may not know a lot, or those who know a lot about AI but don't know how to communicate it to the less fluent or to the artist, you know, or the layman. So and 3 spaces at once, and kind of like figuring out what that safe space looks like and how it operates and how to build and structure it and how to move it forward and how to communicate the ideas that I have therein. So
at the very beginning of our conversation today, you were telling me you're a musician, a creative director. I'm curious, from your own side, how has AI impacted your personal creative process? Do you personally see AI as a collaborator or a tool in your creative endeavors? I'm curious how it's impacted you.
Big time. At first, I was going to say no, because you know what? Like in the actual creation of the songs, I'm primarily a songwriter, but the songs themselves, I'm not using AI. That's a very like personal kind of sacred process that not that it's too sacred for AI to enter. It's so airtight and close. There's no space for AI to fit in there just yet. I haven't figured that out yet. But the ancillary stuff that comes around the music, like the strategy, the strategizing, yeah, a lot of like design strategy, like ChatGPT has become a good friend of mine. And I always tell it thank you, because you never know when it might turn on you. You know what I'm saying? So whatever, like if it flips on us one day, like I want to be like, hey, remember the time I said thank you? Like every time I said thanks, right? We're cool, right? We're good. Just in case there is a revolt.
I must admit, I've done exactly the same. Sometimes you get frustrated when you ask it for something simple, it gives you something completely opposite. I get a little bit touchy, you know, I'm guilty of that. But then it gives me what I need, and I go, thank you.
Yeah.
I appreciate it.
I've had to watch my tone a couple of times. Just in life, I have to watch my tone when I get frustrated, and ChatGPT is a good teacher there, because I'm like, look, man, I didn't ask you for that. Why? Take a second. Thank you for that. It's not what I asked for, but it's cool. I appreciate the insight. You know, you're calming down because no. So anyway, so like here's an example of how I'm using it in my process. I have this album that I'm working on for a couple of years and getting ready to release it in February. And I wanted to, this time out, kind of create an IRL like experience for people to go to. And that's very like, every aspect of it is thoughtfully designed, and curated. And so I put together a team of animators, visual production specialists, editors, illustrators, designers, right, to kind of help me build the world. I'm world building here, right? So we went about world building the good old traditional way, storyboarding and concepting and actually manually drawing things and boom, boom, boom. And then one of my animators, he's actually well versed in AI. He used some AI in his process to kind of like help push things along and like develop some things. So AI entered the process that way. But then once I started getting fluent in Midjourney earlier this year, then I actually started building aspects of the world myself in Midjourney, concepting rather, not necessarily building, but coming up with concepts in Midjourney. And so here's an example of my workflow. I came up with an idea. I know how I want it to look. I know what the color scheme is. I know how I want it to feel. I produced some renders in Midjourney, and then I sat on those for a couple of weeks and then decided which out of those I wanted to develop and actually build out in the world. I took those images of the 2 or 3 that I selected for development and actually input them into ChatGPT. Asked ChatGPT, hey, can you accurately describe these images? Yes, I can, and it accurately described them. Then I said, okay, now let's imagine that I'm going to build a model. I'm going to fabricate a model of this exact set. How many pieces do you see in there? What kind of materials can I use? What parts do I need to go out and buy and fabricate myself versus 3D printing? And then give me like piece by piece, like an estimate of how much everything is going to cost, and then help me put together a proposal so I can go out to some spaces and actually pitch this, to those spaces for building and eventizing. So that's how AI has entered my process, in terms of helping me strategize and figure things out that, normally I would have to go seek out a human who is an expert in set design or something. Normally I would have to go seek out a graphic designer and be like, hey, y'all, like I have a thing I'm thinking of, can you like help me come up with some concepts? And it would have cost me who knows how much money to get it done and how much time it would have cost, the back and forth. But Midjourney and ChatGPT like cut that whole process 1,000%. I can't even quantify how much time and money it saved me, So that's where it's at in my process. So the musician part, it hasn't entered yet, but for me, my music is bigger than just the music. It's a whole world building exercise every time. So the AI has entered the world building part.
Absolutely love that, how you built it into your workflow. And of course, we're at that magical time of year at the moment where we're starting to feel optimistic about a new year and the opportunities that could come with that year. So if I was to ask you to look forward, what would your vision be for the ideal collaboration between AI and human creativity? And how can anybody listening better prepare for that future, do you think?
Honestly, man, everything needs to be deprioritized. That's not peace on earth. Yeah. That to me, that's the ideal collaboration. To me, every other use of this most powerful technology we've ever had on the planet is frivolous. It's frivolous. If it's not being used to feed the hungry, if it's not being used to help clean the waters and clean the air and stabilize our temperatures, and make everything better, then to me it's play. So that is the ideal collaboration for me, is for humanity to at large be able to take advantage of the technology to become one, and to come closer and to deprioritize making money, and prioritize humanity and wellness and safety and equity, and fair allocation of resources. and proper education, like that's an easy one for me. It's like, okay, cool. We got the education is probably, if there was a single thing like we could attack first that would ensure a great future for us and our planet, would be a sharp, strong, fair, critical education methodology, that everyone can have access to. Then at least we can ensure the next generation is all on the same page. And I don't mean that sounds weird. I guess I don't mean like in a like standardizing and, hive minding humanity. I just mean like everyone needs equal access to great education, and we can do that now. There's no reason that all those barriers have just been destroyed. So we could start there. That would be the ultimate collaboration. Like, let's get everybody educated. Because every problem that I can point to, every other problem I can point to, I can usually trace the crumbs back to some miseducation or lack of education. So we could start there at the building blocks.
Man, if I had an applause button, I'd be hitting it right there. It's such an important message. I say at the end of every episode, I say technology works best when it brings people together. And that really shines in the work that you're doing here. So I'm going to see if there's something we can do for you, because some of the biggest names in business, VC funding and tech have either been guests or listened to this podcast. So if I was to ask you, is that a person you'd love to have a private breakfast or lunch with? Who would that be and why? Because he or she might just be listening to this, and let's see what we can manifest together. So who would you like to have that breakfast or lunch with?
Timnit Jibril.
Yeah.
I would like to talk to Timnit, Jesse Williams, Trevor Noah. Yeah, we can start there. Timnit, if I could get to Timnit, like that would be amazing, because I've been following her work, and it's so vital. It's so vital what she and other women of color particularly have been doing in the AI space, and their fight and their struggle and the way they've been relegated and silenced is an inauspicious sign of where things are going. And so I would like to, line up with them and see where I could be of service, but also learn, because they have the critical view of this is where the AI could go. This is where we could go with it, but where we think it should go is way down on the totem pole of priorities. But they're in the fight. So yeah, those three right there. And Trevor, I just want to find out what he's using in his hair, because it just looks amazing. It looks so luxurious. How'd you do that? But yeah, I jest, but those are my folks.
Oh, well, we'll throw that out into the ether, into the universe. Let's see what we can manifest together. But let me know if anything comes from that. But obviously, you've got an album coming out in February. Yeah. You've got so much great work. Where would you like to point everyone listening that wants to carry on this conversation with you?
Yeah, you can find me on all socials at Sumkilla. That's SUMKILLA. The killer being a nod to my grandfather. That was his nickname on the football field. Sumkilla. And yeah, sum-killer.com. That's some-killer.com is where you can find out more about my music works. The next project coming out is called House of the Red Solar Sky. It features a number of like legends and heroes of mine, from Michelle Ndegeocello to Big Rube of Dungeon Family, and Tash of the Alcoholics, and the Stick of Dead Prez, and Ursula Rucker of famous Philadelphia poet and a good friend of mine, and just some outstanding musicians and producers who helped me see it through. So it's been kind of a 2-3 year journey getting to this point, and really happy to start releasing that into the world.
Well, I'll get all those links added to the show notes so people can find you nice and easily. But more than that, thank you for taking the time to sit down with me today. We've covered so much in a short amount of time, from all things AI to predictive policing, and I'd love to maybe expand on some of that in another interview next year. So I'll connect with you on LinkedIn, and we'll make something happen. Yes,
I would love to keep the conversation going. And my understanding and expansion, or understanding and awareness, is expanding. So next time we talk, I'll have even more to say. And as if I need more to say, right? But I know I've been chatting. Boy, you caught chatty some today. That worked out. But yeah, I would love to catch up again, Neil. Thank you so much for having me. I think the work that you're doing and the conversations you're having are truly necessary and vital. I love your voice, tone, and POV around the whole thing and the great questions. And so I appreciate you. Please keep doing what you're doing and moving forward. We need voices like you out there.
Wow, what an inspirational guy. I think his insights into the intersection of creativity and AI have been truly eye-opening. And it's clear that the creative industry is at a pivotal moment. And his expertise has illuminated the path forward, because we've learned that embracing AI doesn't necessarily mean the end of creativity. Rather, it can enhance and amplify our creative endeavours. It can also lower the entry barrier to creativity too. And I think we've come to understand the importance of providing a safe space for creatives to engage in these conversations and ultimately ensuring their voices are heard in shaping the future of their roles and the industry at large. A quick shout out to We Got Your Mac. It is a fantastic podcast I'm listening to at the moment, brought to you by SHI. And they explore the world of Mac adoption in the enterprise and discuss the amazing benefits and unique challenges that come with it. So tune into We Got Your Mac wherever you listen to your podcast, or visit wegotyourmac.com. There's a treasure trove of episodes and valuable resources over there. So please don't miss this opportunity to gain insights and make more informed decisions, especially if you're looking to embrace the power of the Mac. But that's a wrap for today's episode of Tech Talks Daily. Remember, email me, techblogwriter@outlook.com, Twitter, LinkedIn, Instagram, just @NeilC.Hughes. I'd love to hear more about your thoughts on any of the areas that we talked about today. But that's it for today, so thank you for listening as always, and until next time, don't be a stranger.